Yo, what is up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Big Four podcast. My name is Luke Spring, and I'm with your usual Nick, Brian, and Andrew. Yes, I switched it up this time. Nick goes first. But how you guys doing?
Good.
I'm pretty terrific.
Doing
Really
good.
terrific.
Doing
Doing
great.
good. Doing great.
That's
Doing
good.
great.
Love to hear from Brian.
Yeah, we're shipping off Brian on Thursday. Peace out.
My quarterback.
Yeah, we'll have to record that episode probably on Friday night.
Brian will
Oh,
have a
facts.
different background to his Zoom.
Different
for our
background,
YouTube.
everything.
Maybe my jail cell cinder block room, 10 by
Okay.
10.
All right.
I don't even know what the measurements are, but who knows?
The bars on the windows.
But today,
Taped to the window.
Pretty sure I have a big window. That's a plus.
Today we have a super special episode with a super special guest, NESN's very own Tom Caron. Take it away, us. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are interviewing none other than NESN's own Tom Caron. Tom, thank you for joining us. How you doing?
Good, great, Luke. Thanks for asking. How you
Thank
guys
you.
doing?
Great.
Good.
Doing great. Fantastic. And, I know that you just got out of a nice little Zoom with Adam Ottavino. How did that go?
That was good. Yeah, he's an interesting guy. A couple years ago, after the Red Sox won it all in 2018, he was a guy that I really thought would fit everything the Red Sox were looking for to bolster the bullpen. Kimbrel was on his way out, as we know, and I thought Ottavino would be great. He went to New York, had a 1.90 ERA in 73 appearances that year in 2019. So he was really good. Was not really good last year. His ERA was over 5. But if you look at last year for Adam Ottavino, it all comes down to one game. In Buffalo, when Toronto was in Buffalo, he gave up 6 runs, 4 hits, a couple walks, a homer, didn't get a guy out. You don't get a mulligan on your ERA, but if there was a mulligan ERA, if you could take the one bad hole out, he'd had a pretty good year. It'd be under 3. So they get a younger guy along with him, Frank German, 23-year-old reliever, probably at the major league level. He's been a starter at the minors, 98-mile-an-hour fastball. So it fits in Chaim Bloom's plan. If you're going to make a deal, something that helps you now, which is Ottavino, something that helps you in the long run, which is the prospect.
That's fantastic. That's great. That's great analysis right there. That's perfect. That's also
it's what I do.
A great segue into what you do, and that is, we know you work with NESN, so we know you work very closely with the Red Sox. So I'll start with this. What's like your favorite aspect of working so closely to the Red Sox? Do you have made any fun memories along the way?
Oh, yeah. Well, I got a lot of fun memories along the way. I've been doing it a long time. Been at NESN 25 years now, and I've done a lot of different things there. Was on the Bruins for a long time before becoming part of the Red Sox broadcast in 2002. I was the first sideline reporter for NESN. They had never had a sideline reporter for baseball, so I was the first to do that in 2002 and 2003. And then in 2004, I became the host in studio, which was a pretty good time to do it. They won the World Series. 86-year curse came to an end. And the rest is history. So it's been a wild ride, no doubt about that. I've been around for some craziness. That 2004 team, we could go for the rest of your half hour on some of the Manny and Pedro and Derek Lowe and Kevin Millar. They had characters all over the place. David Ortiz, obviously, Johnny Damon. Just a wild bunch of guys. I think you had to be a little bit crazy to come back from a 3-0 deficit against the Yankees. Nobody had ever come back from a 3-0 deficit in the playoffs before in baseball history, but they did, obviously. Manny, we could just talk about Manny for the half hour. Great Manny moments. My 2 favorites were, well, first of all, one of my claims to fame is I don't know how many people you're ever going to have on the show who have gotten a wet willy from Manny Ramirez, but I got at an airport, he snuck up behind me and gave me a wet willy for some reason.
Congrats.
Thank you. So I've got that going for me. Manny, my 2 favorite Manny moments were the one in Baltimore where he went up and got a ball off the hop against the wall. While he was up against the wall, he high-fived a fan and then threw the guy out as he tried to get back to first base. He actually caught the ball in the air and doubled the guy up, high-fived him, though, before throwing. And then the great moment was when he cut off Johnny Damon from about 50 feet away. Johnny was turning from center field to throw it. Manny was right over there
Laid out.
and just dove and laid out and cut him off. And I asked him about that a couple of years ago. I got inducted into the Red Sox Hall of Fame, and I do the interviews for that. And he was great. He just said, well, he kind of looked in like it was a big secret. He goes, well, Johnny can't throw. That's Manny. I'll tell you the best Manny story. Don't get me going. Best Manny story of all time. Okay. He gets sent to Pawtucket for the first time, and he was injured and he was rehabbing there. And I don't know if you guys have ever been to McCoy Stadium. It's not exactly Fenway Park. So he's in the locker room, and a player walks in and says, "Who left the Bentley running with the door open out in the parking lot?" And Manny goes, "Oh, that's me. The guy will get it." And they're like, "There ain't no guy. Guys, there's a lot of guys who want to take your car." So anyway, so there you go. Yeah, just Manny stories for days. It's been a great ride. It's been fun being around the Red Sox because they are always interesting, whether they're good or bad, whether they make you happy or drive you nuts. They're always interesting.
Yeah. And so you mentioned Manny a ton right there, a lot of Manny stories, and that kind of segues into what I wanted to ask you was, you've been there for, now you said 25 years, a lot of years, a lot of players. Is there any player that you've had, a strong relationship with even while they're retired into retirement?
Yeah, that's a great question. Some of them have come into studio, right? I mean, like I covered Tim Wakefield. I've been doing it long enough that when I started, Tim Wakefield was pitching. Now he's with me in studio. So we've become really good friends. Jim Rice, Dennis Eckersley, the guys in studio, Jerry Remy, I consider one of my closest friends. So that's been cool. A guy now who's more recently not retired yet. He gets pissed off when people say he's retiring is Brock Holt. And I have become really good friends. He's going to be great on TV someday. And so I keep saying, let's go, come join me in studio. And he's like, would you stop trying to get me to end my career? 'Cause he wants to keep playing. And Major League Baseball pays more than NESN does. So he's smart to keep going for a while.
That's great. Love the memories. You got to love the memories. That's what.
You also had Johnny Gomes there for a while too, right?
Yeah, Johnny Gomes.
Yeah, he did a couple games on like a West Coast trip like a couple years ago.
Yeah, and he was with me in studio too, and he's great. We talk. He's become good friends. Jared Saltalamacchia and I have stayed good friends. We talk a lot. The fight, and really weird is like when the big names like Pedro Martinez and I have become friendly, and David Ortiz, which is crazy. But Johnny Gomes, one of the first times he was with me in studio, and you guys have seen him. I mean, I've got his, where's his, I used to have his Sports Illustrated cover here somewhere. He, on the air, he says, I've never sat in the monster seats. That'd be cool. And I'm like, well, we probably could pull that off, And so I actually texted somebody from the Red Sox. And during the game, they got tickets. So we actually, in the post-game show, we had Wally come on stage and present monster seats to Johnny. And so for the next day, Johnny and I, instead of watching it from studio, sat out on the monster and watched the game. And it was just crazy because everybody wanted to buy a beer. And I'm like, dude, he's working, he's going to come on the post-game show. But that was really fun because people just kept looking over like, is that Johnny Gomes? It was fun.
It's so great to hear those stories and just remember the Red Sox, what they once were. And unfortunately last year they were a little
what they once were
a little disappointing last year.
2 years ago.
But
remember when they were good?
Seems like forever.
We got an important season coming up.
Kids today.
Yeah, I know, right?
All right, we went 86 years without a World Series.
We're so spoiled.
It's been,
spoiled.
I have kids your age, and like you go 3 months without winning something, and they're like, "Geez, Boston's loser town."
Yeah,
when do we get?
Been like 700.
Been like 13 months since anybody's won something.
790 days, I think it's after the last parade. 790 days, last parade. We went 70 in between the Red Sox and Pats, and we're looking good for the Bruins. So.
That all changed quickly. Yeah. I tell this story all the time. I've covered the parades, obviously. And I think it was, I don't know, 2 Patriots parades ago. And you go early, right? They set up like the platform risers where the reporters stand right on the parade route. So you're there early and people are starting to fill in on the street. People are showing up now. I've been there drinking coffee, waiting. And this family goes by, little family, couple of kids. One kid says to the dad, he says, "Hey, can we go stand where we always stand for parades?" And I'm like, dude, you've got a regular place to watch parades, Don't tell people in Cleveland that you have a usual place for parades and see how that goes over.
12 in the last.
It feels like it's been so long.
It's crazy. It hasn't been that long. You got 12.
12.
You got 12 this millennium.
It's crazy.
Really. So, yeah.
I think we should throw a parade if Brady wins. I mean, there should be a parade in Boston.
Well, see, now you guys won't remember this. You're not old enough to remember this, but we did that. Things were so bad here because it went from the 86 Celtics to the 01 Patriots, right? Without a championship. So it's 15 years. 4 teams, 15 years. That's 60 seasons, right? 97 was it that Ray Bork won the Stanley Cup with Colorado? They threw him a parade here. He came,
awesome.
They traded him away from Boston so he could go win a championship. Literally, that's why he got traded. He asked them, he goes, "Listen, you guys aren't going to win. Can you trade me?" So they traded him. Second year in Colorado, he wins a Stanley Cup, and 10,000 people showed up in Boston at Government Center to celebrate Ray Bork's Stanley Cup. So,
well, hopefully 2020 can give the Red Sox another parade.
2021.
2021.
2021.
Yeah, well, definitely not 2020.
2021.
Probably not 2021.
No.
Getting my ears mixed up.
But they'll be better.
Hopefully,
They'll be better because they can't be worse.
They've been very active recently in the offseason. Can you give us your thoughts on some of the moves they've made?
Yeah, so today was the big news. Adam Ottavino, again, we talked about that. I think that's a great move. They need help in the bullpen. They need help in the starting rotation. They haven't officially announced them yet because their 40-man roster's full right now. They got to get rid of like 3 guys. So it's going to be a tough week for some of the younger players. They're going to have to lop a couple guys off the roster. But they'll bring back Martin Perez, which is a good move. He made 12 starts last year, most on the team. Wanted to be here, which I'm not sure everybody else did. Grew up, it's strange. He grew up in Venezuela as a big Red Sox fan because Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN was always Red Sox Yankees. And so he loved Pedro and he loved watching those games. So he loved the Red Sox. So, he's a really good number 5 starter on a major league team. Last year, he ended up being the number 1 starter. He's not a really good number 1 starter. So put him back where he belongs. I think he'll be good. They're going to announce Garrett Richards, which I think is a good signing. Had some arm trouble, Tommy John, but he's coming back from that. He was really good a few years back with the Angels. And so he will help. So, you start to talk now about Eduardo Rodriguez, Nathan Eovaldi, Garrett Richards as the number 3. Tanner Houck came up at the end last year. The number 1 pick was really good. 3-0, 0.53 ERA. Martin Perez as the number 5. And then they already signed Matt Andriese, who's, with Tampa Bay was a kind of starter, opener, reliever, but he's a veteran arm.
Brian Johnson role, kind of. The
Brian Johnson, Hector Velasquez role. That's exactly right. They didn't have that at all last year or really in 19. And then Nick Pivetta, who came in last year from Philadelphia, was 2-0 in September when they called him up. That was the trade that sent Workman and Hembry to Philadelphia. They got him and Connor Siebold, who'll be in AAA at least at the beginning of the year. So they've built up that pitching depth that they really need to. At least you've got, arms that should be able to answer the call. Last year, literally, I remember a friend texting me in the middle of a game last year. He goes, "I want to yell at these guys, but I don't know who any of them are."
So, Austin Bryce, Matt Hall, Josh Ostrich. Yeah,
exactly. And all due respect to all of them, they need to be your 25th guy, not your 14th guy, which is where they were. So you've replaced really the back end of that with proven guys. Guy to watch that I'm excited about is Garrett Whitlock. He's the guy they picked up from the Yankees in the Rule 5 draft. Was one of their top prospects a few years back. Had Tommy John surgery. He's always been a starter. They'll probably make him a reliever. Throws hard, so he can be in the mix for that. And then August, maybe you get Chris Sale back.
Yeah.
And now everything changes, right? If Sale can start to be Sale again, and he probably won't be till 2022. But even if he's on the way there in September of 2021, now you've got a legitimate rotation.
Yeah.
Now all those guys move back one, you've got an ace at the top of it. And I think that's what they're looking at. I think it's wrong. A lot of people in the media, Dan Shaughnessy, other people are all saying, they're going to stink this year. It's a 3-year. I don't think it's a 3-year. I think they believe they could be good enough to fight for a wild card this year and then go for it in 2022 when Sale is fully healthy.
Yeah.
Their offense can do it too. They were one of the best offenses in the league last year with the most hits.
Exactly. That's what they do. They hit for average, and they're adding power.
They need JD Martinez to come back and have some of his power. But you got Bogarts, you got Devers. I believe JD Martinez is going to hit again. Listen, I'm not judging anybody by 2020. I probably sucked on our show too. Like 2020 stunk for everybody, right? And so guys who didn't have a good year, whatever. Show me what you got this year. The guy though that's had 2 bad years is Andrew Benintendi. Yeah. And I do think he'll be back. I don't think they're going to trade him at this point. I could be wrong, but I think it's getting late.
Yeah.
And the Kike Hernandez, they haven't announced yet, but he's coming from the Dodgers. He's going to play some outfield. Hunter Renfroe, they signed, was really good again until last year, had a bad year when he got traded to Tampa. So I think you're right. I think Christian Vasquez is one of the best hitting catchers in baseball. So I think their offense is going to be fine. You just got to pitch a little bit. Last year's ERA was the highest in the history of the franchise. It literally was the worst pitching staff in the history of the Red Sox.
I remember I said on the podcast, and probably in July, I said if they're right before the season started, if they're going to win a game, they better average 8 or 9 runs a game. Otherwise, they ain't coming close.
And they did that later in the season. Yeah, they actually weren't bad the second half. Of
exactly.
The year,
they had that.
They were winning games 7-5.
That 9-game losing streak, and then Verdugo got all excited in the dugout, and then they played a little bit better. We all thought on opening day that 50-10, this team's going to the World Series, crushing the Orioles.
And you mentioned Verdugo. I overlooked Verdugo. He's going to be really good. He was really good last year.
I really liked him.
Most people probably didn't notice. People are still pissed about Mookie Betts, and he's always going to be, connected to that. But the guy plays with a ton of passion, ton of energy. Kike Hernandez is a really funny, outgoing guy with a great sense of humor. So I think the two of them start to become the personality of this team. I think Chavis would have been part of that, but I'm not sure Chavis is going to make the team. I mean, he's got to prove that he can hit the high fastball. He's on pace for a lot of strikeouts, and you can't do that.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think about, obviously JD Martinez? I was really high on him. I was too high on JD Martinez at the start of last year. What do you think about him? Do you think he can make a nice bounce back this season?
I do, because he's been too good for too long. And one guy, he's got a great relationship with Alex Cora. And I don't want to put too much on Cora, but I think two guys particularly will be JD Martinez and Rafael Devers defensively should really respond to the return of Alex Cora. And I think that's one of the most important reasons to bring him back. I think, these guys love him. He's got a good way of connecting with players individually, with everybody. I mean, I got a great relationship with Alex. He's just got a great way that he's able to connect with people. So I do think that JD Martinez will be back. Last year, because of the social distancing rules, they couldn't use all the video that they usually use. He is a guy who is obsessed with video of his swing. Mm-hmm. You take that away and he's a different guy. So I hope he figures that out.
Yeah. Yep. Go ahead, Nick.
Okay, I can go ahead again. So obviously, the Yankees, they got Kluber and they re-signed LeMahieu, and then the Blue Jays, they signed Springer. Does that concern you at all for the Red Sox's right now?
Yeah. Those, they're both loaded again. The Yankees and the Jamison Taillon deal they just made over the weekend is quietly a really good deal for them. That really rounds out their pitching staff. And probably means the end of Masahiro Tanaka in New York. There's rumors that Toronto might jump in on him. I'd love to see him with the Red Sox, but I don't think it's a good fit at this point after getting Ottavino. I am worried about the division. I don't think Tampa's going to be quite as good as they were.
I don't either.
You move Snell. I know they always seem to have the next guy ready, but there's. The way that went down with Snell, taking him out of the game in the World Series and trading him after and the backlash, I think that's something a young team is going to have to deal with that won't be easy. So, I think the Red Sox can battle for third best, at least in the first half of the season. Maybe things get going in the better direction. But like I said, that might be good enough for a wild card. I don't think anybody in the AL East wins 100 games. I think you're back to, 92, 93 wins the division. 86, 87 might get you in the playoffs. And I think the Red Sox, it's a lot of ifs. If things break the right way, should be in that 85, 86 win category.
Yeah. And so you're obviously Red Sox, but you can't be oblivious to the other 29 teams in the MLB. So what do you think's going on, or how do you think the NL is shaping up with the Mets, Padres, and then the Dodgers coming off a World Series? That's three big powerhouses, not to mention the Braves, who were 3-1 against the Dodgers this past year. Who do you see coming?
The Braves need to keep Ozuna. And he's kind of floating out there. Someone's going to snag him, I think, late, maybe on a 1-year deal. Love him to come to Boston. Man, would he mash here? I don't see that happening again because they've kind of tied up their money. But without Ozuna, I'm not sure Atlanta's the same team. Because he and Freeman were such a great 1-2 combination. Padres are loaded. The Padres have just gone out and put together, a super rotation. And so I think they're going to be really, really good. Tatis is such an exciting young player, and he's just coming into his own. But at some point, you got to show you can beat the Dodgers.
Happy for Don Orsillo out there.
Yeah, Don Orsillo's loaded out there. He's all set. I text him all the time. I was like, really? Another pitcher?
Yeah.
And so, which is great. Yeah, Slam Diego. He should have that was him. He came up with Slam Diego when they hit all those grand slams. Yeah. And, he's got nothing to show. You got to copyright these things. That's my advice to you guys. You come up with a great nickname or something, you got to copyright it.
All right.
You guys know Charlie Moore, the fishing guy?
Yeah.
I named him the Mad Fisherman when the first year we both started here. I got nothing. There's like Mad Fish ice cream. There's Mad Fish spices. Got Mad Fish t-shirt. He gave me a t-shirt once. He said, thanks for the nickname.
That's the reward you got?
So, yeah, I got a t-shirt. He mentioned me in his book, so that was nice.
There you go.
You guys made millions off the name I gave him. Slam Diego, they're going to be good, and it's going to be a great rivalry with the Dodgers, which is great because you don't always have that on the West Coast, right? Dodgers-Giants used to be like that 10 years ago, but it's been a while. So I think that's going to be fun. Yeah, I think the rest of baseball, Minnesota Twins are going to be really good. The Indians are going to stink. But the Astros are going to be interesting, especially, I think JBJ is not coming back here now. I think the Kike Hernandez thing kind of ends that. I think there was a chance. I really do. And Chaim Bloom said today he talks to him almost every day. But there's going to be a $15, $16 million a year deal out there for Bradley. I don't think it's here, but it might be Houston.
Yeah.
And I think he replaces Springer. And then that gets real interesting because Houston's still good.
And then what about the Nets with Lindor, or the Mets with Lindor, and then now they're today I heard that it's Chris Bryant is an also potential landing spot for the Mets too.
And that would be great, yeah. And they got McCann, the catcher, earlier. So they're quietly putting it together. Steve Cohen went in there, and the new owner wants to spend money. The GM thing was a mess, so they're gonna have to overcome that. But the Mets are going to be good. And like I said, the Braves might be taking a little bit of a step back. So that division, the Phillies are going to be the Phillies. They're good. They're dysfunctional, but they're good. The Mets are always dysfunctional too. So, but I think that's going to be a fun division to watch because I really think it's going to be wide open again.
Yeah, I agree too. I also don't know. The AL is looking good, but not as good as the NL. So I don't know. I can't really see any team beating the Dodgers or the Padres or another team that comes out. The White Sox, however, are looking very good. They're a very young team.
I think they're probably right now on paper the best team in the American League. But I'm telling you, the Tony La Russa experiment is going to be really interesting. In an era where managers are young and getting younger all the time, Tony La Russa is not young. But he's a Hall of Famer. He's already in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see if he can connect. I know he can manage. I know him pretty well. He was here for a few years with Dave Dombrowski. Brilliant baseball guy. He's an analytics guy. You know what I mean? He's ahead of his time. He was kind of one of the early managers who really embraced analytics, kind of created the closer role with Dennis Eckersley as a one-inning guy. Prior to that, relievers would come in and go 3 innings to end the game, right? He really created the specialization, the lefty-lefty, the closer. So I don't think it's a case of the game passing him by. I just, connecting with young people becomes more and more difficult as you get older, right?
Mhm.
Probably won't be listening to the same music as the guys in the clubhouse. Probably, not on TikTok checking out what they're posting. But does that matter? I don't know, but it's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, we
Well,
definitely
as
saw a
we-
little bit of that last year with the Sox, especially with Devers and Bogarts and all those guys with
Right.
Renicky.
It was tough with Renicky too because the age gap might have been part of it, but it was his first year and he couldn't really connect with them. I mean,
Yeah.
the social, they weren't allowed. He had a mask on. They were,
Yeah.
they couldn't spend time together. Mitch Moreland told me, as another guy I've built a pretty good relationship with. Love Mitch Moreland. Would love him to come back.
Yeah,
if they could grab him on
that's
short
looking like
money.
a possible thing.
Possibility. I think the longer it hangs out there, he could.
A lefty bat.
Right. Just it fits in well at first base. He can
Mm-hmm.
he can with Dahlbeck, he could platoon a little bit. But if you remember, he had a walk-off maybe 2 weeks into the season. It was a Sunday afternoon, had a walk-off home run to win the game at Fenway.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it was so depressing because they kind of gathered at home plate. And then if you remember, they were all using the separate suites.
Yeah.
So they all went into their different rooms and were quiet and showered and went home. Normally you want to walk off, everyone's in a clubhouse and the music's blasting and it's the high point of the season. He said it was actually kind of one of the low points of the season because you realized it was so depressing.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Tom, we're going to wrap it up shortly, but I got to ask you the King Kong of all baseball questions. Who's winning in 2021?
Who's winning it all? If I was picking right now, how about to me, it'd be the most bizarre World Series just because you'd never, the White Sox against the Padres in the World Series.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah,
and they're both perfectly capable of doing it. But I just, imagine 2 years ago suggesting the Chicago White Sox and San Diego Padres would be in the World Series. But I think I'm going to go with the Padres. I like what they're doing. I think if they can get through the West, if they can get by the Dodgers, they'll be the team to beat in the World Series. So, I'll go with San Diego, and Don Orsillo will be insufferable. I'll never hear the end of it if they win the World Series. But
yeah, those are two good answers. We are going to wrap it up. I have one more quick thing. So, I watched a video the other day on NESN where you went to London for the London game. And you got recognized by some fans, and they were from Maine. But when you were there, did you actually get recognized by anyone who was from London?
Yeah, I did. Oh, that's funny. I did. Oh, it's a great story. We're sitting there. Do we have a minute, or are we wrapping up?
No, you're good.
Oh, no.
You're good.
So we're sitting in Olympic Stadium. It was a really cool experience. The London trip was great, except for the actual baseball, which stunk. But we're sitting up, and they didn't have a press box. You just sat in the seats. They had reserved sections for the media, and so I'm watching the game, and the guy, I don't even remember his name, which makes it worse. But there's a guy who's looking over, and it's like I'm near the aisle, and he's on the other side of the aisle, right? And so finally the inning ends, and he comes over and goes, "Are you Tom Caron?" I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Well, I spent a year in Boston, huge Red Sox fan. I've watched you, yada, yada, yada." We talked for a few minutes. I asked him his name. It's a long last name. I asked him how to spell it. I'm like, okay. And I said, "What do you do?" And he tells me, but I'm kind of, watching the game and I'm listening. And so anyway, we talk Red Sox, we talk Boston. It was really nice. And he goes and leaves. A woman comes over after, and she goes, "What did he say?" And I was like, "Yeah, we talked about the Red Sox." And, "Who are you?" And she's like, "I'm a reporter for the BBC." I'm like, "Who was that?" Apparently, it was the guy who had lost the prime minister election 6 months earlier. He's the head of the Labour Party. I look at him on Twitter. He's got 1 million followers. He's one of the top politicians in Great Britain.
And he knows who you are.
He knows who I am. And I have no idea. I'm like, how do you spell that? We actually did a thing with the phone, and because I was doing these Twitter takeover things, and it was an Instagram takeover of the NESN Instagram account. So I interviewed him having no idea who he is. I'm talking to him like he's some man on the street, and come to find out the guy was almost prime minister. He lost to Boris Johnson.
Yeah,
now the prime minister of Great Britain, and I'm just and he recognized me, and the BBC wants to know what he said, and I'm like, I don't know. He thinks they need pitching, just like everybody else. I mean, what do you know? So yes, I did actually get recognized in London. So
That is
That's
funny.
awesome. Yeah,
That's
everyone
terrific.
in London, they don't know what baseball is because 18-13 and 17-11
they
or
thought it
whatever
was
it was.
great. They thought,
Yeah.
it's not like soccer, man. There's all kinds of action.
I
6-6
know.
at the end of the first.
Those balls were so juiced.
Oh my,
Yeah.
they
And I can
must
tell
have
you,
been.
they wanted. I thought Porcello, if you remember, Porcello started against.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Two pretty good guys. Each guy gave up 6 runs in 2/3 of an inning.
Yeah.
Okay, and he said Porcello off the record, although I'm saying now, but he kind of, he said there's no doubt the ball felt different. Like they wanted there to be offense,
Mhm.
and they got offense.
Yeah,
That's
they did.
crazy. 6-6
was.
after the
Yeah,
first inning.
Chavis is hitting bombs. He's hitting off the handle and it's going 30 rows deep.
My photographer's all excited. He wants to go to the pubs after the game. Lasts like 4 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's closed by the time we get out of there.
Yeah, I know.
Cool
Yeah,
experience.
crazy.
Just the baseball wasn't great.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it. Thank you, Tom, for joining us. We had a great time. Hopefully you did as well. Any last words you want to say?
No, just thanks for having me on. You guys, this is great. I wish, when I was in college, I wish we had this kind of stuff to do. I did a radio show and did some play-by-play, but no, I'm on the top 20 committee that votes for hockey every week. So in your honor, I'll try to bump UMass up a little bit next week.
All right.
Bump down a little bit this week. Today wasn't a good
No.
ranking for them after last weekend, but they'll be okay. He's put together a great program there, and so hopefully we'll get to see them at the Hockey East tournament at the Garden later in March.
Yep. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for joining
Thanks,
us.
guys.
Thank you.
Good luck
Thank
with
you,
the rest of
Tom.
the year.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Appreciate
Go
it.
Sox.
Go
Go
Sox.
Once again, Tom Caron, thank you for joining us on our podcast. But now we got some conference championship football to talk.
Foosball.
Foosball. The conference championship games were last night or yesterday
Brr.
afternoon, last night between
Did anyone
Tampa
go-
Bay. What?
Did anyone go 2 for 2 on picks or?
I went
No.
one for one. We all went.
I went over
Everyone
2.
won.
Oh, Andrew went
well,
over 2.
Andrew went over.
Packers, Bills?
It-
Andrew took
he's-
the Bills, yeah, but
Go
I,
Bills,
took,
go
I, took, I was the
Packers.
only one who took the Bucks.
He is also in last, so it doesn't even matter.
I thought,
But
I was gonna go Chiefs, but I wanted the Bills. So
that's okay. But yeah, big games yesterday. We'll start with the Packers Bucks, and I just want to start by saying hashtag fire Matt LaFleur for that atrocious.
see. I
Definitely
was
a
listening
questionable call.
as a
For sure.
as a
Fire
frequent
Matt LaFleur.
frequent listener of Felger and Maz.
Oh my gosh,
They
do you
made-
say? I think he says frequent listener every time. Are you a frequent listener?
Felger
Frequent
Mass,
listener?
if you're listening to this, Brian's a frequent listener.
I would love to have Maz. I checked you out in Dick's Sporting Goods 2 summers ago. Remember, register 4. Yeah, my guy.
Register
Hey.
4. Oh my god.
So they brought up a great point. There are really only Belichick and maybe not even others. Honestly, every other head coach now is a coordinator. They're either a defensive guy or an offensive guy. There's no guy that actually. Andy Reid, when the defense is on the field, he's sitting on the bench with Mahomes. He's not watching the
Yeah.
game. Matt LaFleur, he could care less what was going on the field there in the end of that first half. He was thinking, what are we going to do when we get the ball out of the first half? He was looking at his play sheet. How are we going to go down and score? Tampa's just going to chuck it deep or throw a quick out and try a 60-yard field goal here. It doesn't matter. So he's thinking, what are we going to do at halftime? He's going to think about that on the field. When he gets in the locker room for that 10 minutes in the locker room, that's what he's going to say. Instead, his bonehead defensive coordinator is putting 7 guys in the box and a no high safety, and Scotty Miller's dusting whatever that guy's name is for an easy layup touchdown.
Layup
And
touchdown.
That's
Kevin King or Desmond King?
I
I
think
don't
so.
know.
Marquette King.
that's
Something
okay.
King.
King. I think it's Kevin King. But so that's the issue now. There really isn't head coaches that are head coaches. They're all coordinators. They're all Sean McVay. I would give another one like Belichick.
I guess
he's
on the
a both
bad
sides
teams
of the
that don't
ball.
have. I guess on the poor teams that don't have good quarterbacks, you could say, because the quarterbacks play a very fundamental role in the
Like the
offense.
Lions, Matt Patricia was a defensive coordinator.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like, obviously, head coaches, they're not just going to really become a head coach. That pretty much never happens. So they're all a coordinator at some point. But even Brian Flores, he's a defensive guy. When he was in New England to start, he worked on the offense, and then he started working on the defense. Then he became a defensive guy. But he at least, I mean, I feel like everyone in the Patriots who comes out of here has at least some kind of better sense of what to do. But that's the problem with especially these young coaches. They're such set on one part of the game that they're like, oh, I'll have my guys handle the rest. At the end of the day, you're the head coach guy. You're the one who's taking the press conferences at the end of the game. It's not the defensive coordinator. You're the one who has to answer these questions. So in Green Bay, they choked. They had so many opportunities like this. Like everyone's like, oh, they should have won. It was a bad call. Well, it was pass interference. The guy's jersey was yanked 10 feet.
There's something.
Exactly.
I just don't like the late call. I don't like the.
You
fact
don't like
that
the late
principle that it was a
call,
late
but
call,
then you
but
go.
It should have been called.
Green Bay gave up the touchdown in the end of the first half.
That was terrible.
Yep.
Couldn't score first and goal at the 5. Rodgers made a bad throw to Adams. Adams should have caught it. Then they just kept forcing it to Adams. He throws it to the back of the end zone to Adams when Lazard was wide open over the middle. They kick another short field goal. They kicked the field goal at the end of the game for who knows why. Like it's like New Orleans when they lost to the Rams. You're down that you can't kick field goals and you got to execute when you have the ball.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams threw an interception when they got the ball to start overtime. All you had to do is go down and score. You win the game. And they kicked 2 field goals inside the 10 in that game. That's why you lose. It's not the ref's fault. You guys blew it. And Green Bay straight up blew it. Tom Brady handed you 3 interceptions, and you got
bad ones too.
6
Terrible
points
ones.
off. 6 points off of them. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I mean, Green Bay 2 for 4 in the red zone. You can't do that, especially in the NFC Championship game. And then 2 picks in the
Devontae Adams on your team. How are you not scoring touchdowns?
And you can't. You seriously, it happened to them yesterday. You cannot get an interception and then go 3-0.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
You cannot do that. Exactly.
I like this conversation we're having here, but I also want to point out because this is actually perfect because no one ever blames Rodgers. I think this is all. He
is not a good. This is.
I think the blame needs to go for Rodgers. Let me just throw out some quick facts. Home field advantage. Rodgers, coach. I'm taking LaFleur over. I think LaFleur is a better coach. 26
and
Arians. Yeah,
I think LaFleur is a better coach.
No way.
Receiving LaFleur.
Then who?
That was sarcasm,
Arians?
Nick.
Yes,
that was sarcasm.
Receiving weapons. I'm going to argue. I'll take Rodgers' receiving weapons.
No.
I'll argue that. I'll take the league's best receiver. I'll take a should have been Pro Bowl tight end.
Sure?
I'll take two other fairly decent receivers. Lazard's not a bad option, and Dallas
over
Gaines
Godwin, Evans, Gronk.
So here's why I take. No, first of all, it's not even
the argument.
Devontae Adams is much better than any other receiver on the field. But that's the problem, is that he's so much better than any other receiver on the field. When Rodgers gets down to the red zone, he did this a bunch. He's just Adams.
He's forcing it to him.
Adams.
He's not
That's
open.
all he looks for.
That's what Buffalo couldn't do. They couldn't cover the 2 guys they had to. If you're the Patriots, Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill aren't combining for 290 yards and 22 catches. They're combining for 10 catches for 100 yards because they're getting locked up. You know who's going to pop off? Mecole Hardman, because you don't care about him. You're going to live and die with the 3rd or 4th guy going off. That's what always happens with Bill. You lock up the first option, you lock up the second option, and you live and die by Jonathan Jones on your other guy. That's what you do. You use your best players. Green Bay forced it. Tampa did a great job by Adams didn't have a good game. He didn't do anything special. He got a couple outs and had some runs after the catch. That's all he did. He did nothing.
Yeah.
Because Tampa, Todd Bowles, credit to him.
Yeah.
Had a good plan. I mean, I want to feel like Brady had some kind of input on how to win a playoff game.
Yeah.
But
regardless,
it's impressive.
Regardless, defense, advantage Green Bay. And I'm
no,
not even remotely close.
No,
sir.
Tampa
Bay's defense is good.
No,
they're really good.
Legit.
Yeah,
they're very.
Are you okay?
In my opinion, that's what kept them in the game. Brady, as much as everyone here is a Brady fan, as much as here everyone's a Brady fan here, he did not have a great game. He made some really poor decisions. He had a touchdown to Godwin in the first half where Godwin had to make a nice adjustment on a tip pass to even make the catch. His interceptions were really bad. Yet he still somehow won because I don't know. I don't understand him. But his defense came up huge. Green Bay's defense didn't really come up huge. That's why that Green Bay they were like the number 1 or 2 offense in the entire league this year. Their defense, they would win games like, I don't know, 45-30 or something like that. Their defense would let up a ton of points, but their offense would score more because their offense was just better than the other team's offense.
Yeah.
Green Bay's defense wasn't that good.
Green Bay's defense didn't play before. I say you're right. Tampa Bay's got better defense. I think that overreaction was a little bit.
No, I don't think.
No,
so. I don't even
it's
think there's.
they're
I don't even
for
think
sure the
defense-
best defense.
Green-
Their front seven played really well.
There's not
They
a
got
single
5
possession
sacks.
group on the
Yesterday.
Green Bay
Exactly.
defense that's better.
Hold on. Green Bay's obviously Tampa's defense played better. They played a better game. But in the season going into the game, Buccaneers defense, bottom half of the league in pass defense. Yes, they're number 1 in run defense, but Green Bay's not a rush defense team. Green Bay pass defense, 6th. Run defense, top 15. I'm just saying, like that reaction wasn't warranted. Green Bay's got a good defense. They have a good defense. Maybe not advantage, but they got a really good
It's
defense.
an okay defense. It's not great.
Regardless, as we know it, Rodgers is the MVP. Yet he lost to a 43-year-old. And for those whoever thought that, would put those idiots that would put Rodgers even in the GOAT conversation, Green Bay's defense held Brady to 19 first downs, which for reference, Buffalo didn't play a great game. They had 24. Kansas City had 29 first downs. That's pretty big difference.
Yeah.
Rodgers, and you know what's funny? Rodgers asking his defense, begging his defense, get me a stop. They got your 3 second-half picks. 3. He scored 6 points off them.
Mm-hmm.
Just
That's
saying.
not good. He can't play
And
from
yet-
behind. That's what Brady does
Brady
best.
made
plays from
3
behind.
3 big mistakes in the second half. Tom Brady made 3 big mistakes in the second half, yet he wakes up this morning with as many NFC championships in one season than Rodgers has in his whole career.
Wait, I don't
Rodgers
understand. Like that
Rodgers'
makes
last. Let me just say this: we need to start being a little more critical of Aaron Rodgers. His last 15 playoff games, 7-8. Brady wins those games.
Same with
You
Brady.
need to do
They're
this
good.
exact same
Brady-
thing with Drew Brees.
Brady
Drew Brees
wins
is
those
even
games.
worse. They're-
Rodgers is 7-8.
They put up
7-8.
They put up good stats during the playoffs, but these guys don't freaking win. I don't.
They
care
don't.
if you put up good stats.
Brady
These guys
is
can't win
so-
a big game ever, and they never
Brady's-
have.
People are saying like, "Oh, Rodgers is still a great." Brady's career is so much better than Aaron Rodgers. People don't understand.
It's
Brady
insane.
beat Rodgers. Brady goes and wins 6 rings with New England, makes 9 Super Bowls, makes the 9 Super Bowls with New England. Then for fun says, "I'll go to Tampa," completely random team on the other side of the map, and then goes to the Super Bowl.
It's crazy.
Tampa, a hopeless franchise. The Buccaneers, a hopeless franchise, took them to a Super Bowl.
Hopeless is a little bit of a stretch.
They were
They were-
7-9 last year,
they
and
were
all they
not
did was
bad.
change the quarterback and
They
add Rob
stunk before
Gronkowski.
Brady got there. They weren't a good franchise before Brady
They
got
didn't
there.
stink. They were a mediocre team. They had a good offense.
Brady took them to the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter. They weren't winning games. Brady took them to the
Which
Super
I
Bowl.
don't know how, because watching that game yesterday, he really didn't look that good. He had a lot of
And they
mistakes. He threw a lot of checkdowns, which, I mean, that's pretty much what he's been doing the last 5 years as his arm strength has decreased. But,
This-
like,
his
I-
mistakes,
people-
the pass to Evans was slightly high, but Evans probably just mistimed that jump. He probably could have caught that. The heave to Evans down the sideline,
that
Evans
was
just-
bad. That was
Evans
really
wasn't
bad.
ready for it. That's a play Brady makes when he gets bull rushed. And I mean,
Also,
all Evans had to do was
Fournette-
slow down and
Yeah,
make a
by
play
the
pass.
way,
And I don't even remember
Fournette picked
other
the
one.
wrong side of
Yeah,
pass
Fournette
protection.
freaking didn't block the right way. So Brady, first of all, Brady played great in the first half. He was 7-7 for 150 yards on 3rd down in the first half. That's incredible. When it matters, Brady's making the play. Like,
By the way, when I say Green Bay's receivers are, I think Green Bay's got Rodgers have better weapons than Brady. I don't think Evans is that good, to be honest.
I don't either.
I think he's overrated.
I do
Godwin
too. I
didn't.
said that earlier.
Godwin didn't really play well. Brown's been hurt. He's nothing special. Tight end's old. I'm
But
just
they
saying.
got Scotty freaking Miller.
I think Rodgers might have maybe close to the upper hand on Brady. But regardless, at the end of the day, this wasn't. People are saying, "Oh, how great Tom Brady is." Yeah, he made the Super Bowl. That's fantastic. He won 3 straight road games in the playoffs at the age of 43. That's fantastic. He's the GOAT. This wasn't as much as Brady being great, as much as Rodgers absolutely choking. This was the deciding factor for me when I picked Green Bay to win. I was like, Green Bay, what they had this year that Kansas City didn't have 2 years ago when they lost to New England in the championship game was that they had a quarterback that knows how to close out games. Rodgers had 3 chances.
and does he really know how to close out games? I mean, he's done
Rodgers
it
is
a
a
couple
clutch
times in the
quarterback.
divisional
He's
round
old.
to get to championship games, but
I thought
not
like
really.
Rodgers.
He's got bailed
the one
out
thing-
twice against Dallas. He should have
I
2
think-
less wins than he has. He should be
I think
5-10.
I think the one deciding factor is that Mahomes was his first rodeo, and this isn't Rodgers. And I think it was going to be a similar game, and it was scoring wise similar game. It just Rodgers he choked. This is
whole time
Rodgers.
he's like,
Rodgers not being able to finish.
his first
more or less
home game,
Brady being
NFC Championship.
So at the end of the day, I don't think
that's what I was thinking. I thought it was going to be different, but it clearly wasn't.
They had the fans. He's just not. He hasn't had the
This-
success. He's won more MVPs than Brady. He has similar offensive stats, but at the end of the day, you're not winning the important game, and you really never have.
I could argue that he had a better team this year than any of Brady's Super Bowl winning teams. Like he had such a good team this year.
2014's team was pretty good.
Rodgers had
Even
such a good team.
2016's team was probably even better.
We can debate this all we want, but he had such a good team, such a great chance, having one of the best seasons of his career, and he couldn't close it. You had multiple chances too. It's not like he had one chance and you blew it. He had more than one chance, and he couldn't come through. This is not Brady being great. I think people are overreacting on the Brady greatness. He went to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying Brady's not great. He went to the Super Bowl. This is fantastic for him. But the reason that Tampa Bay won, Brady should be lucky that Rodgers wasn't on today or yesterday. Because if Rodgers was on and he could close that game out in the stretch, we're talking Packers Chiefs.
Rodgers didn't even have to be on. He just
blew it. He
had to be competent.
He had to be mediocre. That's all he had to do. But instead, he was terrible.
And he's gonna leave. He is. He's retiring. He's leaving. He's out of Green Bay. He's done.
I was gonna bring that up, but I thought I was gonna get crucified for saying that. It's not crazy to think that Rodgers saying that
he's fed up with that team.
Implies
no, he's fed up with the front office. He's fed up with the front office. They don't draft anyone for him.
I think that look, you had everything going from him. That was his game to win for the taking, and you lost to a 43-year-old. And you know what? Rodgers is going to be older next year. Brady ages like fine wine. He's not getting any older next year. We know that. And he's going to be back next year. I mean,
which is crazy. If he wins, does he? Let's do it again.
Rodgers is not going to have the season he had this year. That he won't play the same next year. He knows that. This was his best chance.
Aaron Jones, they're not going to pay him. Like they're losing.
This was Rodgers' best chance to win a Super Bowl, and he blew it. Mm-hmm. I totally understand him saying there's a lot of unknowns, especially right after the fact. Right after you lose like that, I'd be contemplating retirement if I were him. Right after that, I'd be thinking, my God, I can't beat this guy. How am I going to beat him next year? I had two chances to beat him this year. Didn't do it. How am I going to beat him next year?
Like we praised Rodgers and Breeze. Breeze hasn't won a Super Bowl, and now that he's retired, won a Super Bowl at the age of 29, and is going to go all of his 30s and pretty much his prime without winning. And Rodgers at 37 right now hasn't won since he was 26, and he went literally his prime without winning.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he was so. Oh man, poor Aaron Rodgers. But dude, it was your own fault. It was. You are the reason at this moment in time. Now, you're the reason they got to the NFC Championship game. We're so dominant. But you, at the end of the day, are also the reason that they are going to be watching the Super Bowl from their couches.
Mm-hmm. But whether they made it to the Super Bowl or not, they were not going to win. And it's kind of an incredible stat. So first off, the passing leader has never actually won a Super Bowl. That's kind of bizarre. And an MVP hasn't won the Super Bowl since 1999. Yeah, it's actually kind of crazy.
Happens. Yeah, the odds are against him. Maybe the odds are against him to win a Super Bowl, but I think the fact that he was able to finally get past the NFC Championship game again, I think that would be something to build on for next season. Obviously, you want to win that ring, but you're playing Mahomes, Kelsey, Hill, all those guys. It's it's always the odds are going to be against you. They're going to be underdogs anyways.
I kind of wish it was Packers Chiefs though, because I wanted that high scoring Super Bowl. Now I don't think it's going to be high scoring because Tampa's defense is good enough to stop or not stop. There's no stopping. Slow down a little bit of what the Chiefs can do.
I think that for me, for it to be the best Super Bowl, I think Mahomes would have had to beat Buffalo. I just don't think Allen's there yet. Plus, just the whole name thing in my mind.
Mahomes did beat Buffalo.
Yes, I know. I said if Allen had won. I just don't think this Allen Brady, Mahomes Brady. I like that.
This is what the NFL wanted.
This is exactly what they wanted. Mahomes Rodgers isn't terrible either. That's
they wanted Mahomes Brady.
No, of course 100%. They wanted Mahomes Brady, but this is
which is crazy.
I would be satisfied with Mahomes Rodgers.
NFL fans are like, "Oh, Brady's finally out of New England. No more Patriots in the Super Bowl." And Brady's like, "Wait, what about me? I ain't gone yet."
I think this is going to be forever be one of Mahomes' biggest game of his career. This one game because he gets. And
I don't know if he loses this, he's still going to win the next 8.
No, I know, but who? Someone alluded this. I heard this somewhere, but he's gonna be if he wins this game, he's probably not going to play Brady again. I mean, maybe if they meet in the Super Bowl next year, but that's a big if. But he won't play. Brady will be retired by the next time those two divisions will meet. And it's just if he can go home saying, "I got to play Brady 4 times," and we split. The GOAT, me, split 2-2. That's pretty good. Instead of losing 3-1 and losing out of the Super Bowl, that's pretty good.
Yeah, but then again,
there's a lot more to this for Mahomes than just a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but if he loses again,
2-2.
They're gonna win.
No, it's 2-1 Brady.
Oh, no, Brady won twice in 2018, and Mahomes won in 2019. And this year.
Sorry. Yes, no, it is 2-2. It's the grudge match. That's right. I'm sorry. It's a grudge match. So this is the one. Imagine saying you beat Tom Brady in the series 3-2, 5 times. That'd be pretty cool.
The refs lost us against, say, N'Keal Harris.
Yes. No, yeah, we all know that one right there. But
it's in the past.
The offsides was also in the Patriots' favor, though, even though it didn't really affect the play. So it evens
kind of
out.
Help the Patriots.
It evens out. It evens out. So we can say that it's 2-2. It evens out. Yeah, but it didn't affect the play.
I mean, it was kind of an interception that ended the game.
Yeah.
No, I know, but he wasn't rushed because he felt pressure because of the offsides. That's what I mean.
That was also 3 yards offsides.
No, I know.
What a buffoon.
But still, regardless.
How do you not look in and you're like, realize you're past the lineman? Like, buddy, what are you doing?
You're just like, wait, my head is lined up with theirs. Maybe I should back up a little bit?
I know.
Ref, how's this line up in the backfield?
Am I good?
That's like in Madden when you
next to Brady, it's just like, am I good?
Yeah, it's like in Madden when you take
10 yards and you'll be good.
When you take your safety and like go around the lineman and they're in the backfield, you're gonna get an offsides, but you'll get a free shot at the quarterback.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Super Bowl is set. We don't really need to talk about the AFC Championship game because that will really. I mean, we can, but
I saw from my
game should have been close, but Buffalo couldn't execute.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. I saw. I mean, here's the thing. This is Allen's first AFC Championship game. This is his first game on the big stage, and he's got to do it in Arrowhead Stadium. I'm just saying.
With Jackson Mahomes in attendance,
I said Kansas City was pretty much going to roll. I mean, yeah, they got down like 9-0 early. Luke, so they're going to go down a little bit early.
That's what they do in the playoffs.
They got over that in the blink of an eye, and they controlled the game after that. Kansas City, because the main reason I took Kansas City was in the regular season. KC beat Buffalo. Now I know the conditions of which the game were played at and all the parameters of the game and whatnot. Playing on a Tuesday, it wasn't in Buffalo's favor, but Kansas City ran them up for 245 yards. And I said it was the most rushing yards Kansas City had ever had in a game since Week 16 of 2012, and 245. And Mahomes didn't play his best game, yet they still rolled. And I'm thinking, Mahomes plays good this game. It's over. If they catch Mahomes on the right day, this is over. And sure enough, they caught Mahomes on the right day. Well, for Kansas City at least. Yeah. And
they had chances to cash in though.
They did have chances. Why? I mean, and it's the classic like mental mistake down a stretch where like. But it's a 16-point game. At least make it look better. Make it look like a 2-possession game instead he goes for 2. I know he had to do it at some point, but that put the game out of reach officially.
Yeah. Go ahead, Andrew.
Buffalo. I mean, like Brian said, they had chances. I mean, you cannot go 2 for 5 in the red zone against Kansas City, and you also can't go 5 of 14 on third down. I mean, it's just simple. You got to get first downs, and you have to cash in. Yes, I mean, obviously they were going to score a touchdown when they had the ball at the 3-yard line after a muffed fumble or a muffed punt. So, I mean, it's just you got to cash in. When you get into the red zone, you can't settle for field goals. Yeah. First of all, when you're playing in a conference championship game, and 2, when you're playing against Patrick Mahomes, you can't do that.
And I think the big reason, the big thing I'm impressed about, is from Kansas City that it won't be the case against Tampa Bay, but Kansas City did a really good job of limiting Josh Allen those big deep balls that he's so good at. I mean, they really did a good job preventing that, and that's the big spark to the Bills' offense when he's able to complete those passes downfield to guys like Diggs, Beasley, and Davis. Those kind of big plays provide the spark, and Kansas City, they really shut that down.
Clearly, Josh Allen was more than uncomfortable. Lad got the snap and then just booked it 20 yards backwards and rolled out to the right every single time.
He made a lot of
mistakes. Wasn't getting pressured. Buddy, step up in the pocket and make a throw. Like you don't have to
Remember-
run 30 yards backwards and roll out and get
I don't-
sacked for a loss of 20 every time. Like what
Right,
was
and
he-
I kind of knew that there Allen's prone to make mental mistakes. I mean, I remember the last time he was in the playoffs and he lateraled it against Houston for no reason.
well, he almost did that
Thank
again.
God it was recovered.
He was running up the sideline in like
He's
the
like-
second quarter and did like a fake pitch, and I'm like, buddy, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But like I don't Josh Allen. I said Josh Allen's not quite there yet. He needs to get his foot wet. He needs to get his
Yeah.
feet wet. Next year he'll be back. Next year it'll be Bills Chiefs again likely. Next year it'll be Bills Chiefs. Clearly, I mean, after seeing the Diggs things, I think Diggs might be a little motivated next year. But
Yeah.
I think it'll be Bills Chiefs next year in the Conference Championship, and I don't think it'll be 38-20. And it wasn't 38-24. It was more than 38-24. But I don't think it'll be that kind of score.
The
Again.
onside kick helped and all that shenanigans.
Well,
There was,
yes,
there was
but
all those aspects.
But
to it.
also Buffalo had 2 field goals inside the 5. They
Exactly.
make those
Yeah, but it was one of those
touchdowns, and
games where-
it's a
it was one of
10-point
those
game.
games
It's,
where Kansas City took a 14-9 lead. Once Kansas City took the 14-9 lead, I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
If
And then,
go ahead.
Congrats for the Kansas City defense. 11 targets for Diggs, only 6 catches. I mean, that's your number one
That's-
guy.
That's good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what they had to do, and they did it. So when you
So,
take
yeah.
away the number one option, it's
And
tough
they don't
to
necessarily have a
score
shutdown
points.
corner too. They did really well.
No, and they also Buffalo doesn't have a running game. So.
Huh.
They should
They should
they were
draft Najee Harris.
Yeah.
They were sticky on
Or
receivers
ETN.
all night. And
They
this is
were.
why, if I'm Bruce Arians, my game plan for the Super Bowl is not centered around Brady. It's centered around Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones for 2 reasons. One, the Kansas City defense played a fantastic game against probably, if not the best, top 3 passing offense in the entire league. Josh Allen, the Bills were that offense the entire year. They shut them down. Second reason is just the ability that the Chiefs have of putting up points in mass numbers in such a quick amount of time. If you run the ball and keep the Chiefs offense off the field for long periods of time and not throw and get into third down and short situations in 3 plays and then have to punt, have a 3 and out, then you're going to have a good chance of winning. They can't have a ton of 3 and outs. They have to have long drives to keep the Chiefs offense off the field to prevent points from being put up on the board so quickly by Kansas City. And I think they'll be more effective in the run, especially with Tom Brady's arm strength. You know, he hasn't really shown he has a ton left. I mean, that was a nice deep throw to Scotty Miller, but other than that, this playoff run, he really hasn't shown that he can throw the ball that far.
I mean,
So if I'm Bruce
that was
Arians,
inside 40. That was inside
I'm
50.
centering. No, I know. Yeah,
He
even
had
that
to-
was
he really
only.
heaved that there. He had to
No,
really
I
He
know,
can
that's
still
what I'm
throw it
saying.
60 yards if he needs to.
No, I
Yeah.
know, but if I'm Bruce Arians, based off of how the AFC Championship game went and just the overall nature of the Kansas City Chiefs offense, I'm focusing run heavy for this Super Bowl game.
Yeah.
If
That's
I'm-
what the Patriots
gotta
did
own
against
the
the
time
Chiefs
of
when they win.
possession.
You own time of
Exactly.
possession. Patriots
I'm
first half, even though it went to overtime and they gave up 31 points, they're up 14-0 at halftime. Mahomes was doing jack squat. We had an 8-minute drive to open the game. Michelle ran for like 100 yards in the first half, and Brady threw a pick from the 1-yard line in the end zone. Should have been 21-0. So if you play a game like that where you dominate the time of possession, just go first down, like how I play you in Madden, Luke. Game 4, game
Oh,
3, game
so
4, game 3,
stupid.
game 4, game 5, game
No.
2, game 8. Like
So-
short gains, keep it going. Oh, easy.
Here's my
easy
issue.
money.
Here's
Easy
my
money.
issue with with Tampa dominating time of possession. I get it, but Kansas City, they can score so quickly.
That's the
That's why I'm
point.
saying. That's why
Buddy.
you want to keep them off the field.
I guess.
Yes.
Yes, that's how it works.
That's why they have to center their offense around running.
You
want to
limit the amount of possessions they have.
exactly, and by
I think
running
it's
the
going to be a
ball,
great Super Bowl either way.
and by
It'll be a
running the ball,
fantastic
you
Super Bowl.
limit the well, I don't know if it's limiting, but you also don't want to turn the ball over, because if you turn the ball over, that is huge. Unless you get a ton of turnovers on the Chiefs, which it is very unlikely. Brady has to be super careful with the ball and can't just, throw it errantly like he did against the Packers last night. He has
But
he has to protect it a lot.
Owning the time possession, I mean, the most important part of that is when it comes to a close game in the fourth quarter, that defense is going to be tired. That is the most important part. You need to get that defense tired. You need to make sure that and when they're tired, You got to score points. There's no question about it. That's the only way you're going to win. And that's what Brady does. Brady always comes up in the fourth. Well, I mean, he didn't really yesterday, kind of muffed that one, but in his past, yeah, exactly. He didn't need to. In his past, when he's down or it's close, he makes it count. And that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to make it easy for himself if they own time of possession so that the defense is very tired. I mean, that's how Tom Brady wins Super Bowls. That's how he's going to win this Super Bowl if he does.
It'll work in Tampa's favor because Kansas City has bottom half in the league in run defense so over the 2021 season. So it should work and theoretically in Tampa's favor. My only concern for Tampa is that God forbid this plan fails poorly and they get behind early and then they have to start throwing the ball. I'm worried that as good as Brady is, he's 43 and Mahomes is getting better every year. I'm worried, can Brady keep up with Patrick Mahomes? I think he can. I think he can keep up with Mahomes, but I'm still worried that because every time every time they've met, it's been the one time this year when Brady was in the Bucs, it was Brady playing catch up and he couldn't catch up. But when he was on the Patriots,
or he couldn't mustard or relish either.
When he was on the Patriots, it seemed as though especially the two games, the one in the regular season that Andrew you got to witness in person, and then the postseason appearance when it went to overtime, that it was Mahomes that ended up catching up to Brady, right? So Brady had the early lead, so he was able to hang on to it. So he didn't have to suffer at the foot of Patrick Mahomes dominating the score the entire game. So that's, I think, the only way Tampa's going to win is if they need to control time possession, but they also can't fall behind. So, we've seen Baltimore control time possession, but they can't find pay dirt, right? Tampa's obviously different teams. They need to be able to get into the end zone and be able to also control the score. You want Mahomes playing catch up because I don't think Tom Brady can play catch up, especially against Patrick Mahomes.
Brady can't play like Brady in the first quarter of Super Bowls. He's got to score early. He cannot go scoreless in the first quarter.
And he has to be prepared to be, the dominating time possession works fine. But, if there's two variables, if the Chiefs keep answering, that's going to hurt you a little bit. And if at the same time you fall behind, you got to turn to the passing game. And I think at the end of the game, Super Bowl's dangerous. At the end of the game, Super Bowl's always turn into a passing contest. That's why the Chiefs won last year because Garoppolo couldn't pass.
Yeah,
he missed the game winner, the Sanders. He missed that downfield. And great quarterbacks make those throws. Garoppolo couldn't make that throw. That's why the Chiefs won last year.
Yeah, because Garoppolo's not a great quarterback.
Ended up, throwing out the 13-3 Patriots Super Bowl win in 2018. These Super Bowls, they come down the stretch. It's generally a passing game. It's generally it's a punching match, and you don't want. Brady doesn't want to be behind multi-scores when it comes to this punching match. Mahomes, it's still dangerous for Mahomes for anyone to be down by this much, but Mahomes can we know he can dig himself out of this hole. I don't know. Brady can. Brady played ahead the entire game against Washington. He played ahead the entire game against New Orleans, pretty much the entire game against New Orleans. They went down a little early, I think, but they pretty much controlled the whole second half, and they went down they were up the entire game against Green Bay. We've seen Brady's regular season record. He only beat one team above 500 in the regular season. That was Green Bay. That was the only team above 500 he beat. So it was obvious in the regular season. Obviously, he's a different quarterback now, but it was obvious back then that he couldn't really compete with these really strong teams, these good teams. It was tough for him to compete with them, especially in these shootouts. So, I mean, for Tom, they gotta, like I said, control time possession, but they also can't fall behind.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's it. Do we have anything else that we want to talk about or say, or any final thoughts?
Final thought is Cole Beasley. What a beast!
Oh yeah.
Played the season with a broken fibula. How the heck do you do that?
I know. It's pretty incredible.
That's nuts.
Seriously, how the heck do you do that?
That's pretty
adrenaline.
Incredible.
How do you run? How do you well, shot up on his legs, probably numb. He probably doesn't feel anything, but
exactly.
Still,
how cold was it during the game?
It was 40.
Yeah,
City, but he played like half the season with it.
Exactly.
I'd kill for a 40-degree day in Framingham right now.
Facts.
Yeah, well, too bad you're getting 12.
Ooh,
Brian,
bad. I'm
final
getting
thought?
-8 on moving day. Oh yeah, next time the lovely listeners of the Big Four on YouTube will see our beautiful background.
Oh yeah.
I'll be in a jail cell, so see you there.
Hopefully the rumors will have an echo.
Go Jason Tatum for 3.
Oh yeah, my final.
And that is the cue to stop.
My final thought: go Detroit Pistons. They're up 14 on the Sixers right now with 5 minutes left.
because they
So
can't
go
win
Detroit.
on the road.
Go Detroit. All
They
right.
should have lost the other game too.
Yeah, go Detroit. Thank you guys for listening.
LeBron James.
LeBron James, sure. Thank you guys for listening. Once again, thank you to TC, Tom Caron of NESN, for joining us for that exclusive
Yes, thank you very much,
interview.
Tom.
Thank you, Tom. We will see you guys not on Thursday because Brian's moving in, on Friday. See you later, dudes and ladies. See you later, listeners. I'll say that. Bye.